Well, hey there everyone. Welcome to my homestead. If you're new here, I live on a little over 9 acres in Tennessee, Middle Tennessee, and I'm going to be talking about what it's like to get through the summer here and where my garden is at, and talk about a couple of other things, so stay tuned. Well, here we go. The reason I am not outside trying to make a video, an update in my garden, which I would love to do, is it is sweltering. So if you're thinking of moving to the most rapidly growing area in the country, I'm told, which is Middle Tennessee, if you're thinking of moving to Middle Tennessee, there are a few things you need to know. Why don't we start there? Okay, so I was talking to my nephew and his wife a couple of weeks ago. They were telling me that, Middle Tennessee is the fastest growing area in the country right now. So many people are coming from California, which I did, but I was raised here, so I knew what I was getting into. I mean, after 40 years, coming back into this climate and this environment is still a shock. And you have to find ways to cope. I decided this morning that I would just not be able to live off grid here. Now, some people can. And this is not only true of Tennessee, but also Kentucky, Alabama, Georgia, and to some extent the Carolinas. They have different microclimates on the coast, obviously. So, and then the interior of North Carolina is in the mountains. So that's very different, just like East Tennessee is very different from Middle Tennessee, and Middle Tennessee is very different from West Tennessee. When I was looking to move back to Tennessee, I looked at a huge area between, I think the farthest east, I was looking up on the Cumberland Plateau. I even put a house on the what do you call it, under contract. It was in an HOA, which was absolutely not something that I was going to do, but that particular situation I thought might be okay. But anyway, too much work to do on the house. It just didn't work out. And I'm so glad. It's just too far away from my mother, who is still alive barely, and I'll be talking about that for a minute. So hey, why don't you just go get your cup of tea right now? Because we're going to cover some stuff. I haven't checked in a while. Anyway, if you're thinking of moving to Middle Tennessee, also know that, because of climate change, or I should say the climate change agenda, they are looking for places around the country to build batteries for all these electric cars that are supposed to save the climate. And so guess what? We won't even get into the rare earth minerals that come from, Africa that are mined by children. But when the materials get to this planned battery plant in Columbia, Tennessee, they want to take millions of gallons of water out of one of the country's top scenic rivers, which is Duck River. And if you're familiar with my old videos, I used to have at the end Duck River Productions. Well, it still says Duck River Productions, but I don't have the beautiful little animation, which 13 years ago was very advanced. Now for animations, it's nothing. And with AI, it's nothing. But I went to a lot of trouble to make that little animation of the wood duck swimming up the Duck River. And they want to do this, so of course it's a big fight because the Duck River has one of the largest, if not the only, mussel, the mussel that grows in the fresh water it will destroy that. And in order for people to have, new cell phones every year. So, or an electric car, I guess. I don't know what kind of batteries they're planning on making there, but that's the whole point is, to go away from fossil fuels, they want to go towards batteries. Well, batteries come with a long legacy of bad for the environment stuff. So just be aware of that. And if this particular company, corporation, whatever it is, I don't know who's building it, but if they wanted to spend the money, they could run a line to the Tennessee River, where I was told by my nephew they would never run out of water, but they would significantly, they would destroy the Duck River. So that's that, and there's a Facebook group and all that. If you're interested, you can check that out. So those are some things to think about. And also, summer is almost unbearable. That's why I didn't try to film outside, because I went out this morning to turn the radio off. I've got the full court press trying to keep raccoons out of my corn, and I have not been successful at completely keeping them out. Although now I somehow managed to get the flower corn out without a major raccoon invasion. The electric fence is seeming to keep the deer out, so that's not a problem, but the raccoons are just so smart and they can get into anything. And so I did a number of things to everything I could think of to keep them out, and even setting live traps, and they have avoided the live trap and still gone for the corn. I have wrapped in plastic shopping grocery bags. Wrap the corn, because all the corn that I have a bunch of corn in here that I need to preserve, cut, and put in bags in the freezer. I was even thinking of canning it, because my freezer is full, and if the grid goes down, you've got all that frozen food. What are you going to do? So I've never eaten canned corn. I've never processed canned corn, and I don't think it would be nearly as good, because I remember growing up the difference between my grandmother's fresh frozen corn, and if we didn't have that, my mother would open a can of Green Giant, or those are peas, right? Well, anyway, she would open a can of corn. It was just like, what is this? It's so bad compared to the fresh. So I have to figure that out today, because I don't want it to go bad. Anyway, all of the eating corn is harvested, and everything that's left down there I'm trying to save for seed, because I want to sell it, because my friend Daryl worked 40 years to develop this particular variety called Sweet Luck, for his last name is Luck, to develop it, and I don't want it. I want people to grow it, and so I'm really working hard, doing everything I can to save the seed. And they're interested. Raccoons are very picky, and they want the freshest, sweetest stuff. So as it dries on the stalk, they're not going to be so interested. But anyway, that's where that's at. So in terms of the wild goose peas, my uncle surprised me with some seeds in 22. He came to my sister's funeral, and he gave me a little plastic bag of these seeds, which this is a field pea, somewhat comparable to a purple hull pea, which is very popular in the South. But this is not common, and you probably can find it, but it's not common. I hadn't seen it before. I hadn't even heard of it. I don't remember my grandmother ever mentioning it, but I wasn't a gardener when my grandmother was alive. She lived to 97. but I hadn't even become a gardener. I was a city girl. So anyway, he gave me these seeds, and I think I have 1.5 gallons of dried seed from last year and maybe the year before that I haven't eaten. They're dried, and what I need to do is do the same thing my friend Patty does up in Kentucky. She cooks up all of her beans and cans them, so that, you know, in a power out, you can just open that can and eat them cold if you need to, not even heat them up. But dried beans, that's going to take power, fuel, a lot of fuel to cook, just like rice. We can store rice and beans all day long, but how are we going to cook it? You know? In a power out, you're going to run through your fuel pretty fast if you start trying to cook dried beans and rice. So these are things that are on my mind. Anyway, I just have a few here. I decided I have too much to do, and and I have plenty of beans. And I've been eating a lot of beans because I ate pretty much all my Hutterite beans, my white beans, I ate fresh. So I've had beans almost every day. And so I'm just going to let these dry. It's much simpler. Right now the pea patch is just so dense, I don't even want to put my foot in there, because there was a snake in there last year. It was a harmless garden snake, but it did scare us. Since I can't see the ground, I don't, you know, I'm just going to wait until the plants start dying back and just take all the dried pods off. Okay, so I've got ANISE hyssop here, and I'm growing a lot of this. I seeded it, and I also, I first got seeds from Daryl, and then I think I also ordered some ANISE hyssop and seeded that, because I actually haven't taken the dried seeds and have I? I don't think I've brought them inside to resow those. Anyway, I have this stuff growing everywhere now. It's self-seeds. And I know that it smells divine, and you walk around when you're gardening and you just, it tastes just like anise, which is like, what do you call it? That stuff they make the candy out of. I just blanked. Okay, anyway, you can use the leaves. You can use the leaves and the flowers fresh for tea, or dry them. So I've already brought in a bunch, and I hung them over there. So they're drying, but I also wanted to just read you all the benefits. This is just amazing. I didn't realize it, but of course, when you start investigating the power and the broad spectrum of benefits of medicinal weeds, plants, it's mind-blowing. You know, when you go to the doctor, they give you one pill for one problem, and that may have side effects. Now you got another problem. This was such an issue with my poor sister. She's had such health problems, and so, you know, she would go to the pharmacy. I didn't live here, so I couldn't help, and she lived out in the country, and I always wanted to try to help her, but you know, when the medical system is set up for your drugs, your pharmaceuticals to be covered by insurance, and you go to a doctor and they get some sort of more or less kickback or whatever for recommending these drugs. They don't ever talk about natural medicine. Anyway, listen to this. This ANISE hyssop is also known as blue giant hyssop, lavender giant hyssop, elk mint, and licorice mint. Licorice, that's the word I was looking for. It belongs to I have a hard time saying this word, Lamiaceae, the mint family. It is native to northern and central North America. So it's partially woody, and I think the bright green leaves notched at the edges, covered with fine white hairs. New growth has purple tint. Plant has an aroma suggestive of mint and anise. Yes. And partially woody with branched and usually hairless stems. Clusters of small lilac blue flowers appear on elongated flower spikes from July through September. So, I mean, think of it. So many things just bloom for a minute in the spring and then you're done. And this is going for months, giving you fragrance and listen to the health benefits. It can be used as a sweetener, I didn't know that, and to make tea. It can be used as a flavoring or seasoning. The leaves and flowers can be eaten fresh, cooked, or dried. So, medicinal use, heart healthy, angina pain, an infusion of ANISE HYSSOP is a tonic for the heart and a quick remedy for angina pain. That's interesting. Sores, wounds, and burns, use a poultice of leaves. Soak the dried leaves or bruise the fresh leaves, flowers, and apply them directly on the affected area. Cover with a clean cloth. They have antibacterial and antiviral properties that leaves do. I think that's true of most mint though, right? It helps with diarrhea, it helps with sore muscles and anxiety. It says, try gathering 3 to 4 tablespoons of leaves in a square of cheesecloth. Hang it from the faucet while drawing a bath. Well, okay. Now, if you don't filter your city water, it's like, okay, you're putting medicine in chlorinated city water. It's just, I can't stress enough, if you have the funds, to find a good tub filter. If you're taking baths or you have children, you put them in the bathtub, you know, get that tub filter to at least get that chlorine out. It goes right into your skin. I've seen videos where it just soaks right in. Anyway, so you can hang it from cheesecloth at your tap and then fill your bath. And the scent released as the water flows calms the spirit. And boy, don't we need that right now. Calming the spirit. Our country things are so crazy. So when the bath is ready, drop the herbs into the bath water and soak your sore muscles in the bath. Okay, and for colds, flu, bronchial congestion, it helps expel mucus from the lungs. Of course, you've got mullein for that. You can wash it in an infusion to help relieve the itchiness. Athlete's foot, fungal skin infection, yeast overgrowth. Soak the foot or infected area in a bath with a strong infusion of ANISE HYSSOP. Soak daily until the infection is cured. And then for the tea or infusion, you'll need 1 cup of boiling water and raw honey to your liking. Add 1 tablespoon of dried leaves and flowers, add 1 teaspoon of dried or 1 tablespoon of fresh leaves and flowers. Add them to the boiling water, cover tightly, and allow them to steep for 15 minutes. Strain through a fine sieve, we always used to say. Add raw honey to sweeten if desired. So that's all the information, and I've recommended this book numerous times. Many people have it. It's The Lost Book of Herbal Remedies by Nicola Pellion and Claude Davis. Great book. Great, quick resource. You know, you can't have everything. You can't cover everything. Sometimes the remedies, sometimes the recipes in there are kind of brief. Let me just see who's trying to get me here. Okay. Oh no. Huge shock wave hit Earth from the sun, caused many airplane incidents. I tell you, you know, it's just, wow, it's crazy. So wanted to just show you my dried beans. So if you're new to seed saving, these are my Hutterite beans. This is a chowder bean. I don't eat them as green beans. I wait until the beans are fully in the full size. By the way, someone suggested that my hair would look very nice if I braided it. This is the first time I've worn braids in one of my videos. I have 1,400 videos. And I probably have 500 videos with my hair longer. But before I left LA, I always kept my hair about this long. And, you know, because I was an actor and you gotta look like your headshot. And you can't have, Pocahontas pigtails go in when they're expecting you to look like that. So anyway, I can do what I want now because I live here. And so I let my hair grow out. And she said it would look pretty for me to have my hair in braids. Well, I have to tell you, the thing is, it's so much easier if I just have it up. Because I can't stand to have a single hair in my face. That's why I don't have bangs. When I first went to New York, I met like the queen of advertising casting director. Her name was Maxine Marks. And she was a cousin or a niece. She was a niece of one of the Marx brothers, if you remember the Marx brothers. And so she was a character. But she was a legend, and I forget which ad agency she was at. In the beginning, it was all, you'd go to the ad agencies, they'd have their beautiful little area where you audition and everything, and their waiting room and all that stuff. And then they outsourced all of that by the I want to say the mid-90s. They just outsourced it all because they didn't want to maintain all that. So you'd go down to these ratty little studios in lower Manhattan. Not lower Manhattan, but down in the 18s, like 18th Street or something like that. Anyway, back to the beans. So I am saying these are Gold Maries, and that's a pole bean. That's Daryl's favorite eating fresh pole bean, and that's a yellow bean. So I've got some of those saved. I didn't have very many. It didn't do well. But I think that's my fault. So I take full responsibility. I usually take full responsibility when something doesn't work, unless it's deer and raccoon, and then it's their fault because I work as hard as I possibly can to keep them from that. But these are the Hutterites that I've saved, and I ate a lot, and I put some in the freezer, and that's all I've done with the Hutterites. Then I've got the red calico bean. This is a lima, and this is pretty much Daryl's, I wouldn't say favorite, but like the best producer. So these are just coming on. I planted a few beans on my bean trellis. We did an experiment actually. He wanted me and Denise and him to grow out. He grew this one particular bean, I forget what it is, and it came up in different colors. So he sorted out the colors, and he each gave us a color. And he said, you grow this out and you see if you get all the colors, if you just get that color. So there's an experiment going out there, but I don't have that many, not that many plants came up. And like I said, I consider that my fault. So I wanted to just show you today's, oh gosh, come on. This is today's harvest. It's really winding down. I have 2 of these. This is my first, what is this called, clamshell, or I forget what they call that. And yellow squash. I had 2 little eggplants. I should have let them stay on there. I took them off just so I could make up. I have some mushrooms left in the refrigerator, and I just thought I can make up a little ratatouille for lunch. And then I've got the rest is just tomatoes. And my peppers are just coming on. I've got, that's probably a pound. That's a heavy tomato. I didn't grow as many varieties. The last 2 years I did a tomato variety video, but I waited till August. And you're so busy in June and July. Oh my gosh, you just don't get a moment. So I waited till August. In fact, I broke my kneecap on August 25th last year. I remember it very well. And it was the cicadas were drowning me out. I didn't have a microphone, and people are going, I can't hear you for the cicadas. I'm going, But anyway, I shot the video. It was absolutely sweltering. I was sweating bullets down my shirt in the back. If you ever go back and look at that video, I'll put the link right up there, and you can go back and see if you think I was sweating. But I was like, sweat was rivulets were going down my spine. The cicadas were drowning me out. It was absolutely 100% humidity. But I did it outside because I needed the big table and everything. So that's the way I did it. And I was rushing because it was a Sunday, and I always went to see my mother on Sunday. So I was rushing to get out, and I had to get my car. I didn't think in advance to get my car out of the garage. Getting my car out of the garage risks my cats going out. I don't like my cats to be out when I go to Nashville, because what if I can't get back that day or something? So I keep them in, and so I was trying to wrangle cats, get them in the dog crate so I could pull out my car, and I was walking, I picked up Patch, and I'm rushing around the side, and I tripped between my car and a box. And I went straight down on my kneecap on the concrete, and she just went right out of my hands and went under. She was fine, of course. Cats land on their feet. I landed on my kneecap, and so that was agony. And so then, obviously, I didn't go see my mother. Anyway, about my mother. So my mother is completely helpless, and she can't make out anything. I think she can see maybe light and dark, but she has macular degeneration, and it's all closed in. There's nothing clear anymore. You know, macular degeneration is usually two ways. You can have the pinhole in the middle where you can see something clearly, and everything around it is blurry. I did a macular degeneration PSA, like a commercial for public service announcement, back in California, so that's why I know, and I was the person with the macular degeneration in the commercial. So, or you can have the whole outside, you can see, like to something way over here you can see, or something way over here you can see, but you can't make out anything straight ahead. So I think now that there's nothing clear. And she was talking about, on Sunday when I went, she was talking about, she was glad that we got everything done, and that she felt good about it, and she wanted everybody to go, and she didn't want people to be sad. But it wasn't like I'm sitting here talking to you where I'm sure of what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying? It's like I wasn't sure she really understood what she was saying, or if she really meant what she was saying. I'm not sure. Because many times since she's been in this place, well, in the last 4 years or so, she said, well, Kaye, what are we going to do now? You know, she's bedridden. So I said, well, there's not much we can do, really, just maybe rest and talk, and, I could sing you a song. You want me to sing you a song? No, not really. So I'll pray. I always pray with her when I'm there, and but anyway, Sunday was different, very different. When I got there, she was staring towards the window. The shade was drawn, but she was staring towards the window. Like normally she's just like that, and she was like that, and her eyes were wide open, and she was smiling like she was watching something, or somebody. And then she launched into the thing about being glad everything got done, and she felt good about it, and she was gonna go, and she didn't want people to be sad, and all of that. So I've been trying to get over there all week, but there's just, I probably have 50 pounds of tomatoes that absolutely have to be, and the corn absolutely has to be dealt with today. So that's going to be hours, and my back's going to be killing me. And I need to get this video up, and it's long. But just in terms of my, that's where things are at with, Lyndon is still alive. The 3 cats are great, and they're in the garage right now. And the weather is sweltering, 100% humidity, mosquito central, chigger central. I got 8 chigger bites when I went over to make the video at Daryl's, and they're all like right around your underwear line. They get all the way up. You can't see them at all. They get all the way up there into a crevice, And then it's like this hard, sore, itchy thing, and you just go, okay. I finally had to get out the nail polish. I haven't polished my nails in years, not since I've been here for sure, 4 years. And so what would be the point? And it would be worn off in a day. But I still have the bottle, and it's like the non-super toxic kind, you know, that I bought, because I'm an environmentalist and I want to save Mother Nature. I had to paint the nail polish on because nothing was and it takes a week to get over for those to die or whatever they do. So anyway, and the mosquitoes are just horrible. So we had that drought, and it was very dry, and it wasn't too bad. But I mean, the mosquitoes are out even when it's dry. So that's another thing you need to know. You get your work done in the spring. You hope for the best. That's what I love about sweet potatoes. You get them planted, you weed your bed, and you mulch your bed, and you don't even have to think about them until the end of September. You know, unless you have, you know, deer and voles and all of those things. I'm way ahead of the game from last year. I looked back there was an August picture of my sweet potato patch, and it looked like that, like 1 month earlier this year. Peas, I'm just going to wait till they dry. Tomatoes are winding down. The corn is almost done. I'm just trying to save seed right now. And then the sunflowers, they hit their peak about 2 weeks ago. Oh my gosh. And I think if you looked back at that last video, that's probably the best. Although just now my peppers are coming on, and I haven't had my first winter squash. Last year I was covered up. One plant delivered me 60 pounds of that giant squash, and I've only got one. I replanted that because I didn't know what it came from, and I didn't know what the seeds would do. Seeds did not do well, but I noticed this morning I've got one plant over here. The side garden is covered up in weeds. Oh my gosh. Wow. It's not fully utilized at all, but I do have 4 eggplants, only 2 of the 10 roselle survived, but they're now big bushes, so I'm hopeful. I've got sweet potatoes over here, the white ones, and I've got some melons and a few beans and sunflowers. And then the flower garden is still abandoned. I haven't had help. My helper, I've only seen him for 7 hours since I've been back from Idaho, so it's just, you know, it is what it is. That's what I can do. These terraces over here, actually, except for the 10 tomato plants that I worked so hard to preserve, everything else is looking pretty good. And I've got peppers and borage and tomatillo and Egyptian spinach and moringa. My okra's doing fine down there. The sorghum, I planted sorghum for the first time, and I did not spray. You've got to spray for armyworm when you first plant corn. When corn gets up this high, you've got to spray as soon as it starts making that shoot at the top. You got to spray down in there with some kind of bug spray. And I use the Captain Jack's and the BT, a mixture. But I'd never grown sorghum before. I got the seeds from my friend Jamie, and I just thought, well, this will be fun. I just did one little row. I had done a row there of amaranth, and only 3 plants came up, but that's beautiful. And in its place, I put the sorghum, you know, kind of last minute, but I didn't think to spray it, and it's all eaten up. The whole shaft down the middle, because it's just like corn. It just doesn't put out a corn cob, and but it has the same kind of shaft that goes up, so that's just all eaten up. So anyway, that's where things are, and I hope that's informative. I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope you had you know, a couple of refills of cups of tea during this video, and let's just hope we all survive this crazy time that we're in our world. And one way we can do that is with our faith in God and Jesus, and that's what's helping me. So I hope that's helpful to you. God bless you, and I'll see you in the next video. Don't forget to subscribe. Hit that bell for notifications. Scroll down and click all so you won't miss anything right here on the homestead. I'm Kaye, and I'll see you later.